It's on you.
Welcome.
Um, Impractical Jokers. Dude, these guys are so funny. The four of these
I
guys.
love them.
Yeah, I was telling Chris if we could ever have a guest on this show at some point, and we ever got to the point where we were in a blip on one of those guys' radar, I don't care any of the four would be hilarious to try and talk to. They are
Who,
awesome.
if you had to
So
pick one of them, though?
if I had to pick one of them, I think I would probably pick Joe. He seems
Really?
like he would. I think so. He seems like he'd be the biggest, like the goofiest guy to come and
Yeah,
talk to. But I don't
absolutely.
know, man. Sal would be really funny too.
See, I would
They're
like
all
to bring
funny,
Murr
man.
on because Murr, I feel
Murr.
Murr or Q are the more like I feel so bad saying it, but I guess more educated. Like I know Q reads a lot of books, so he
Yeah,
has a lot,
yeah.
but Murr definitely comes off as more of the I don't even know. Classy is such a bad word to use, but I don't
Well,
know. He
nobody knows what Murray does in his free time apparently. So
yeah, yeah,
we get a little
exactly.
glimpse into that in the movie. But
Yeah,
who knows? Maybe he jumps on people's podcasts that have like 10 subscribers. So if that's
yeah.
the case, maybe
Murr,
look out for
hit us
Murr
up.
next week. Maybe look out for Murr next week. Yeah, the social media and stuff is going well. Thank you guys for following us on Instagram and everything. We got a website coming together, and we're up pretty much anywhere you want to listen or watch your podcast right
Yeah.
now. So Spotify, iTunes.
Criticandthecommonman.com.
That's right, criticandthecommonman.com, Critic and the Common Man on Instagram. Enough about that. Let's jump into it. First movie today is Impractical Jokers. Chris, what do you think about this one?
Um, Overall, so here's how I ended up watching it because I was bored, and it's oddly enough the last movie I watched before quarantine. I mean, like literally like 4 or 5 days before quarantine.
Oh, so you went and saw this in theaters?
I did, yeah. Me and my girlfriend were both very bored, and we have a movie theater literally a block away, and we just wanted to go out and do something, and we went to the movie theater, and we were just looking at times for movies, and because normally we'll go have dinner and then we'll go to the movie and like have a few margaritas, and luckily this place that here actually has margaritas that you can just buy in the theater, so
Nice.
it's all fun. But we didn't realize that there was even a movie for the Impractical Jokers. I didn't see any like trailers for it. I had no idea. And we were just looking at the show times and we were like, whoa, this is weird. There's an Impractical Jokers movie without even reading reviews or anything because we're that big of a fan of the actual show. We just decided to watch it. Um, so it's weird because it starts off with that like the scripted like first like what is it like 10-15 minutes of just
At
scripted.
least. Yeah, at
Yeah.
least.
And you know, I'm a big enough fan to where I'm willing to just kind of like go with it. So I was like, okay, you know, like this is what they're doing. And I feel like it almost takes away from what they do on the day to day in their show because the idea behind them being, you know, having a loser and then somebody being punished, it kind of makes it feel real. You know, you never know what they're gonna do, and you never know if somebody's gonna end up crying or you know something like that. And I feel like the scripted aspect of the movie takes away from what they're trying to do with the show in their what's the word I'm looking for? Their man, I don't even know.
They're
If
like
we
authenticity.
authenticity, thank you.
Yep.
And that's something that I know that they've talked about because I've seen a lot of their behind the scenes that they want the show to feel authentic. That's why they want the hidden cameras and everything. And I feel like if that's what they wanted, they shouldn't have done that for the movie. Overall, I still enjoyed the movie. You know, I went and watched it. I laughed. You know, it's got really funny parts, but the immersion is definitely broken when you're suddenly taken into these aspects where they're no longer where they're reading the script. You know,
Yeah,
it's a
where it's
little
clearly
bizarre.
scripted.
Yeah.
Right, it's clearly scripted. And they're not trying to hide that. Like,
No.
everybody's seen the movie, so, they're not trying to, like, force these jokes on you that aren't real. It's clear that they know that they're making a fake movie. It's not like they're hiding anything. But it was a weird mix. It was a weird mix. Trying to mix the scripted parts that were thrown in there with the like authentic pranks that they were still trying to do. Um, I didn't love that. I didn't love that. These guys are, I don't even know how many seasons of this show we're on now, but these guys are,
It's weird
it's got to be,
because they have 15 box sets that you can buy, so 15 seasons, but
right.
each of their seasons on television, I think, was broken into two box sets. So
Okay.
yeah, it's weird. So what one season on television is season one and season two when you buy it.
I got you. So there's probably like, I don't
Six or
know, eight,
seven.
7 or 8,
Yeah.
yeah, somewhere around there. But yeah, this one they I think they should have probably stuck to their guns to what got them so much popularity and what
Hmm.
people love so much about the show in the first place, and that would have just been to kind of do the authentic pranks and step it up a notch and kind of and they do a little bit like they have was it Q? They have Q in the room with the tiger. Or no, was it Sal?
It was
Who was in the
Sal with
room
the
with the
tiger. Yeah,
tiger?
he's
It
the
was
one that's spraying
Sal.
cats.
Yeah, they got Sal in there with the live tiger, so they're definitely bumping up the pranks a little bit. And then obviously at the end, when Murr loses and he's on the plane, that was nuts.
Now,
It was
yeah, was
absolutely
that
nuts.
real? I mean, that looked so real.
Yeah, no, that was real. That was real. He actually did that.
That's
But that's the
crazy.
thing. That's the thing. Like when they mix the scripted and the non-scripted, the
Yeah.
authentic parts of that movie start to feel fake. They
Hmm.
started to feel a little scripted because you're just kind of jumping in and out. Um, it's like, yeah, let's have one of these guys on as a guest, and then we'll just rip their movie apart. But whatever. Listen, this is an authentic podcast. We're gonna say how we feel. But it was funny. It definitely. I didn't feel like that movie was as funny as a lot of their
No,
episodes.
I agree.
Like, there's a lot of the jokes they do where, like, when they got people waiting in the waiting room and they like call the crazy names and like people are like freaking out. Like, there's a lot of stuff they do in the TV show that was, I thought, a lot funnier than that
Hmm.
movie.
Agreed.
Um, but you know what I realized about this movie is that if they had just done the pranks, if they had just stuck to the jokes and then make them bigger and badder, this whole thing would basically just be like a family rated Jackass. Like it kind
Yeah.
of almost walks that line where you're watching a movie, but you may as well be watching a TV show if that's what they were doing. And so
Hmm.
maybe they felt like to make content that deserved to be its own movie, they had to kind of add some scriptedness in there
I
and kind
feel
of
like they
make it
also wanted to show off a little bit of their acting and what they can do because
probably
they all went to improv school. They all
right.
became masters of improv. Sal does stand-up comedy. I feel like they just wanted to show off a little bit, and not that that's bad. Like they deserve it, man. They worked hard for where they are. But yeah, I
These
agree.
these guys have these guys have such a big following, man. I think they're kind of at a point too where they probably feel like they can do whatever they want. I mean, these guys probably don't even care if their movie gets good or bad ratings or not. Like
Well,
these
they
are
call
four
it out in the movie.
friends,
You
right?
know,
Yeah, even in the movie, they're like, it's gonna be a 3-star movie. It's
it's
gonna be a
three
three-star
stars.
movie, right? So they know. I mean, they know, and I don't think they care. I think they're just going in to have fun. This is a
Yeah,
project that interested them. I mean, like we said, they're on probably at least 7 or 8 seasons of this show, so
and
it's
I
got
will
to be
keep
getting a little
watching.
tricky. Right. Right. Oh, dude, it's hilarious. It's hilarious. These guys, you can tell that they were great friends before the show even started,
Oh yeah,
obviously. Like
yeah,
they just have
absolutely.
that chemistry. These guys really get along well and they're hilarious. Um, but yeah, to me they were kind of walking that line of, oh, this is just a PG rated Jackass. Like this
Hmm.
is just I'm watching a movie where guys just goof around and there's like a tiny little bit of scripted parts in between, but really you're just kind of watching it for these pranks.
They do drop the f
Um,
bomb a few times though, so
yeah, they do. They do. They definitely. It was a little more adult than what you're probably used to seeing the Impractical Jokers. But if you haven't seen this one yet and you're watching this review, my advice to you would be to watch a couple episodes of the show first,
yeah.
because they definitely hint at some inside jokes that they create in the show. I don't know if you noticed that, but they definitely like they're the license plate on the car was like Larry, and
Yeah,
they're like
yeah, yeah, I
joking
did
at
see that.
Larry. They're joking at like they're making references to the show. So if you haven't seen the show, this movie would be weird, I think, because
I feel
you've
like if
got
you
to.
haven't seen the show, you probably wouldn't like it.
Oh, definitely not.
I feel
Definitely
like the
not.
movie was made for fans.
Oh, for sure. For sure. And dude, these guys, they like sell out auditoriums. Like they go and like they like do meet and greets. Like there is a diehard like cult following for the Impractical Jokers. And
Yeah,
I get it. They're hilarious. They're
they sell
hilarious.
out cruise ships, stand-up
Yeah.
shows. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's right. That's right.
yeah,
Yeah, they're hilarious. They're awesome. But the movie was a little bit of a stretch.
yeah.
But let's break it up because it really, this movie has two distinct parts. It has the scripted parts and the non-scripted parts.
Hmm.
So we'll talk about both of them. So let's talk about the scripted parts first. Obviously, this is like the story of them getting like wrecking Paula Abdul's show and then ending up in Miami.
I actually don't mind that. I like the idea about like the entire premise is that they're on a road trip and they're heading from New York to Miami for a concert. I actually really like that idea. You know, if it was a sold out concert and they only had 3 tickets and one of them couldn't go, I love that. Fight for the ticket on the way down. Like that's great. What I think breaks the immersion is the fact that Paul Abdul was in this, and that they made it that scripted thing where like they could have easily done the same thing, made an entire movie the way that they did, without adding that scripted aspect, and I feel like it would have been just as funny, if not funnier, because then you're not being taken out of the movie constantly when they're adding the scripted scenes. Um, so yeah, I don't know, for me the scripted aspect of it, not that it was bad because they're decent actors, but it does feel a little weird at times, and I don't know. I don't think that the scripted, that's not who they are. That's not what we know them for. You know, so for them to have done that just feels like we're not watching the Impractical Jokers.
Yeah, that's not really what we want to see. We want to see them do the jokes and make us
Yeah,
laugh. You're watching that movie to laugh, and
exactly.
we laughed. I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure you did too. We laughed when we were watching it. But yeah, you're not. No offense to those guys. They're fine. You want to show off your acting chops, go ahead.
Mm.
But we're there to watch you guys do the pranks.
Yeah.
We're there to see some new funny pranks, raise the bar. Um, and the scripted part to me, it would have been fine right at the beginning and right at the end. I think there was a little too much of
Yeah.
it scattered in between. But the main part of the beginning there, I actually think following that like Jackass movie model, they should have started the movie with them like doing a really funny prank or something crazy or whatever, just to get you into it.
Hmm.
Because immediately when they started doing the story, I kind of was taken out of it a little bit. And I was
Same.
thinking, okay, like this is not at all what I thought it was going to be. So then I kind of geared myself up to the fact that we were going to watch these guys do an actual just movie. It wasn't going to be them doing the pranks. And then they kind of switch gears and they get
Yeah.
back into it, and that's fine. But
But as far as like the actual like pranks that they did throughout the show, or throughout the movie, I should say, I thought some of them were really funny.
they
Like
were.
the tiger was just terrible. That was just so mean, and like I mean, just the fact that it's a tiger alone is bad enough, but that Sal is like deathly afraid of cats is the I think the real kicker. Um,
Yeah, they raised the bar with that one for sure. They raised the bar
yeah,
with that one for sure. What I think that I mean the big hitter for me was obviously when they found Joe in the cave. I
absolutely.
think that's probably the biggest one, and you can find that clip on YouTube, and it's got millions of views, I'm sure. That was, dude, that was so funny.
Yeah, I'm the beef.
Oh my God. But I almost wish, what it was? When they did these pranks with people, normally when you watch Impractical Jokers, you see them do the same prank with like multiple groups of people or multiple
Hmm.
times. And you only saw him do it kind of with like one group on that.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, you're
when
right.
he came out of the cave, it was like one group of people sort of. You weren't really getting the reactions.
Yeah, and it
Now when
didn't
they
feel like
did
a
the
competition.
no, no, it didn't.
It
It
just felt
didn't
like a
because
series of like, here's what we did along the way to Miami.
yep. Oh my God, the one where they were pulled over on the side of the road and they had to get people to help them and like see if they could keep getting people to help them. I was dying
Dude, the
laughing, man.
best part for like when the guy when Murr asked the guy to choke him and he was just like, yeah, sure, let me just pretend to choke you, and he just started doing it like, and and
But
Murr
like
was
on
like,
the
no, no,
side of
don't
the
stop, don't
road.
stop. In his face, he was like, oh, I gotta get it,
Yeah, it's like,
and
you want to do
nobody
something
stopped,
fun? Pretend to strangle me on the road.
and nobody stopped for them too. Like if I saw it on the side of the road, I would have called the cops.
Probably people are probably like, what the hell are these idiots doing? They
Yeah,
clearly, I don't remember at what point they were like in Georgia or something, or even
yeah, it was
Florida when they
Georgia.
did that. So it was like, people are probably like, look at these idiots on the side of the road doing this stupid stuff. But yeah, it was funny, man. It was a funny movie, and it's not as funny, I would say, as just going and watching an episode or a few episodes of
Hmm.
The Impractical Jokers. But it's something different, and it's something new. You get to watch these guys in a different setting, and it is a little out there compared to what they normally do.
Yeah,
I couldn't help but make the jump that this movie was like very similar to kind of like a family rated or a more family rated Jackass, in
yeah,
that
and
you're
you're right.
basically
I never
like
made that connection, but absolutely, yeah, that's what it
it's
feels
just
like.
not as like gross, obviously, or not as like intense. But I mean, it's kind of the same thing. Like you're watching these people like mess with people or mess with each other, and it's real. Like the parts where they're messing with each other are real.
Yeah.
So there's kind of that shock factor. It's the same thing. It's the same reason why you like the show. Um, But the scripted nature of it, kind of jumping in and out of the scriptness and not, I think that took away from the movie a little bit.
You know, it's funny because I feel like the reason they did that was so that they could have a way to tie the story in, to have a beginning, a middle, and an ending. I don't think they
Give
would
them
have
a
known how to
reason.
end a movie, you
Yeah.
know. And so I think that's kind of why they did it, and I understand that. But I don't know. I feel like just having a competition and then like, okay, we're the winner. You know, like I feel like that would
Yeah,
have
it
been
would have been
enough
too
of an ending.
similar to just a TV show, I suppose.
Yeah,
Like, if you watch that, then you're basically just watching 2 or 3 episodes of the show. It's just a longer TV show. So, okay, fair enough. They had the scripted part in there. Um, oh man, I'm sure there are plenty of fans out there who absolutely love this movie, thought it was hilarious, are like diehard fans of these guys, and I'm a huge fan too,
yeah.
and I thought it was funny. It was a little weird. And I hadn't actually watched any episodes of Impractical Jokers for a while before watching this movie. It had been a while, so it was fun to get to see these guys again and kind of jump back into that. But
Hmm.
yeah, it took me in and out of it a little bit. It
Yeah,
took me in and out
same.
of it a little bit.
But
Um,
I enjoyed it. You know, I don't feel like I wasted my money. I didn't, demand a refund or anything. You know, it is what it is. You know, I went to see the Impractical Jokers. Do some pranks, laugh a little, and just get some entertainment. And that's really all this movie is. It's just it's entertaining.
it is.
Um,
Yeah, it is.
but
Do Do you feel like the pranks that they did raised the bar enough to be considered like movie quality, or do you think they were just sort of subpar?
I think that some of the pranks they've done in the past were funnier. I think they were at times a little more challenging. I think this was them coming up with things to do that they could do on the way down. And I think a lot of it has to do with like the pranks that they do in New York because most of their pranks are in New York. They've built up a reputation with the community and with local vendors and businesses where they can, go into White Castle and yell at people through the little drive-through window and things like that where going to Georgia and saying, "Hey, we have a TV show. You've probably heard of it, maybe you haven't. Can we go into your restaurant and make fun of
Right.
people and lessen your quality for a day?" And I just feel like that was probably harder for them to achieve. And so they did what they could. I mean, they found a motel that was willing to let them have a tiger, put into the
Yeah.
room. So
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that
I
is true.
think
Yeah, it
that
was.
the Joe coming out of the cave, I think that definitely set a bar.
That
Um,
did. That was hilarious. It's got to
yeah,
be hard for these. It's got to be hard for these guys too, man, because like you said, they've built up a reputation. There's however many seasons of the show out there. Like, I wonder how many times these guys were trying to film something for this movie, and somebody came up to them and they're like, "Oh my God,
yeah, of
you're the
course.
Impractical Jokers!" Like, who doesn't know who these people are by now?
Hmm.
You know what I mean? If you don't at least kind of know who the Impractical Jokers are by now, you're kind of living under a rock. Um, yeah, it's got to be challenging to continuously up the bar with these pranks
Hmm.
because people know who they are. People are going to recognize them, like you said. You go to like a real touristy area, and you're going to get picked out. They did a good job. They did a good job for what it was. I think it was just them. I think they just had fun, to be honest. I think they did it because they wanted to. I think they made a movie because they probably figured they could make a lot of money doing it. You can't blame them for that. The jokes were funny. The jokes were really funny. You go in and laugh. Some of them were less family friendly than others, but I think the movie was
Yeah,
rated like what, PG or something like
I
that. I
think
don't
it's
know. I think
PG
it was PG
13.
13.
Yeah,
Yeah, PG 13. So it's not, again, it's not Jackass. It's nothing disgusting in this movie. It's
yeah.
all it's all relatively family
I think the
friendly and it's
worst part is
funny.
like the strip club.
Right, right. Yeah, exactly. But it's a great movie, man. It's funny. Like you said, it's for entertainment. I feel like we got out of it what they wanted us to get out of it.
Yeah, and I would watch it again. If I'm ever bored and I want to watch Impractical Jokers, like sure I'll put the movie on and why not like just watch kind of turn my brain off for an hour and a half.
Yeah, it's worth it. If you like the show, you're gonna like the movie. It's the same guys. It's. I think a lot of people probably agree the scripted part was a little unnecessary, but that's what made it a movie. That's what made it different than just being an hour and a half long TV show.
What did you think
Um,
of seeing Jaden Smith in there?
that was weird. That
That
was
was
weird,
bizarre,
and
right?
yeah, it was. And you think he actually got that tattoo on the other leg at
I
the
don't
end? You think that was
know.
real?
I don't know. I mean, he looked pretty miserable. I'll give him that. Like he looked like he did not enjoy that he
Yeah.
was getting a second tattoo. So maybe,
He looked pretty miserable, and also I feel like when you get to that level of fame, or like when you get to that level of success, who cares if you have a tattoo of
yeah,
on your Jaden Smith on
two
your thigh?
two
Like,
tattoos
yeah,
of Jaden.
two of them, right? He already like, who cares? You know what I mean? That's just who you are. You kind of own it. If that's what it takes to make a big movie and get people to watch it or whatever, then go for it. Um, this movie got really bad ratings on Rotten Tomatoes. The critic score was 38%, and the audience score was 76%. And I think that 76%, if I had to guess, would come from people feeling like the scripted part of it was a little
Mm-hmm.
unnecessary. Put in more of them doing the pranks. But you make a good point. It was interesting. I liked the concept of it that they were doing the road trip and
Mm-hmm.
competing along the way. I did like that. So, what'd you think? Give your rating for Impractical Jokers, and we'll see how you compare to the Rotten Tomatoes score.
Yeah, so I think the hard part with rating a movie like this is that you can't rate it based on cinematography because this is a show about hidden cameras.
Right.
What we've got is the story, which felt a little forced, as we've talked about. The scripted is a little weird, um, and then just the entertainment factor of it all. And so, as a fan of the show, I've been watching it for years. Um, I I enjoyed it. I think that honestly, a 7 out of 10 feels pretty normal. It feels like the right, as a fan, the right number to give them. Just because it was fun, I didn't. I feel like I didn't waste my money, and I would watch it again if it was on TV or something, or if it goes down to like $10, for the Blu-ray or whatever. Like I would watch it again. So I think a 7 out of 10. It was funny. It was entertaining. That's what it was. It wasn't terrible.
Fair, fair enough. Yeah, I like this one too. It's fun. It's Impractical Jokers. It's what you'd expect. But I don't know. I afterwards I wasn't even sure. Like if I had the option of watching the movie or just watching a bunch like binge watching, 3 or 4 episodes of the show, I
Yeah.
kind of feel like I would rather just watch the show.
Yeah.
I don't know if I found the movie funnier than I found the show. And I don't know. There's multiple reasons for that. Like we just said, you didn't see as much reaction from people as I thought you were going
Mm-hmm.
to. I didn't think the jokes upped the ante quite enough on some of them. I laughed. I definitely laughed throughout the movie. It was funny, but I think I would probably still rather end up watching the show over the movie if I had the choice, just because it's more just constant laughing,
Mm-hmm.
constant humor. I'm gonna give this one again. It's hard to rate because, like you said, it's like a hidden. It's a movie it's an adaptation of this TV show. So for what it is, I mean, I'll give it. I don't know. I'm hovering between a 6 and a 7,
Yeah.
only
And that's
because I
honestly
just
that's where I was too.
yeah, only because I just feel like I would laugh harder at the actual TV show. I'm gonna give it a
Mm.
6. Sorry to these guys, not that they'll ever hear this, but sorry to these guys.
They might.
They're hilarious. I love the show, obviously, but I think I would rather watch the show than the movie again. It felt to me like this was kind of a cash grab.
Yeah.
They were doing this, either their producers wanted them to do it and they didn't, or they just wanted to do it to kind of make an easy buck. And they put a movie out there that was basically just the TV show with some
Yeah.
goofy
And
cinematography thrown in.
it is what it is.
Uh,
So
yeah,
a
yeah,
six
it
out of
is what it
10,
is.
7 out of 10. There's
That's it.
Impractical Jokers, the movie for you.
That's it. The
Watch
Critic
it
and
for
the
yourselves
Common
though,
Man
please. Like
review. Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. I would recommend it. I would absolutely recommend it to people, especially if you like the show. I'd recommend it.
yeah.
You see the
And
guys, it's
that and
funny. You're gonna
that
laugh.
you're right. Like if you're a fan of the show, you're gonna like it. If you're not a fan of the show, or if you've never seen the show, you're probably not gonna like it. You're probably not gonna understand it. And I feel like that in itself is a terrible way to sell a movie. Like, hey, do you know who they are? Then yeah, sure, you'll like it. But like, it's
Right.
just if your viewer audience is people who you've already got to watch your show, that's probably not the best place to sell a movie to. But it is what it is.
Yeah, but they got a big audience, man.
True,
They
that's
got a
true.
big audience, so I think it probably works for them, and I think they know that. But that's cool. Good for them. It was
Yeah.
cool. Good for them for making the movie. I hope they continue to make the show. Huge fans of the show here. It is what it is. So that was the Critic and the Common Man review of Impractical Jokers, the movie. Go watch it.